eventually you get absorbed in, and you are Sonic.
Cheers, everybody. Welcome to No Repeat, a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs for every voyage the river may take you on. I'm Taylor Olmstead, and I'm joined on this journey by my co-hosts, Tyler Reed.
You know, there's an entire period of Tom Hanks movies that are him just really just being kind of a normal guy, and people being in love with him because he just is so much less crappy than every other person in that movie.
And Sean Evans.
I don't know. I guess, yeah, to what Tyler said, and thought waiting for a boat reference to come to there, but it didn't.
No, there's no boat. I just watched You've Got Mail last night, and that's the only context.
Tyler, what was our challenge this week?
This week, your challenge to find the perfect song for Cabrewing, submitted by Taste50Fan13. And hey, if you like or hate this challenge, you want more Cabrewing challenges, submit them. Or if you want something completely different, also submit them. You can DM us, add us, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook group, No Repeat Listening group, or No Repeat Pod on any of those things. Or you can always send us an email. norepeatpod@gmail.com.
Cabrewing. The most low-effort, high-risk hobby of the middle-class male.
They have drinking and canoeing, but why don't they have drinking and rock climbing?
You know, I think that truth should be self-evident. So for those who aren't familiar, cabrewing is exactly what it sounds like. You're in a canoe, you're drinking beer. That's basically it. Sometimes you paddle a canoe from one brewery to another. That is not necessarily required, though. Oh yeah, all my friends in Ohio paddle down the Little Miami, and there are like 5 breweries that have boat docks, and you can pull your canoe up to the side and get drinks and then paddle on to the next one. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Rivertown, baby.
Anyway, have you guys ever been cabrewing? Are you fans of canoeing, sober or inebriated? What are your thoughts?
So, I have canoed. I have not cabrewed. I am a little bit afraid of doing cabrewing because I'm not a very thick boy. So if I ever capsized a canoe, I'd probably have to like float on it for a while until I could get to a place. And also, I just hate capsizing boats. I had to do it a couple times in Boy Scouts and in canoes and in sailboats and stuff. I just never liked doing that. So I think the more upright and controlled I am in a boat, the better time I'll have.
Tyler, have you been cabrewing?
I have not been cabrewing. I don't know if I can recall the last time I specifically was in a canoe, but I feel like I've gone kayaking more recently. Can cabrewing refer to kayaking? Probably not as convenient because
I mean,
the
portmanteau isn't quite there, but you could. There are kayaks with cup holders. You could bring a beverage on a kayak.
Mm-hmm. Nope. There's a reason why they decided to call it cabrewing.
But when you were kayaking, did you bring adult beverages?
No. But I feel like I'm less hesitant. I feel like than Sean. I feel like Sean very, very seemed nonplussed about the idea. But I'm like open to it. I mean, as long as you're not like completely hammered, right? Like as long as you're like. Yeah, like functional. I think the idea is just that who doesn't like want like a drink when you're just like out kind of doing a thing out in the world? I mean, that's, it doesn't really seem that sort of wild, but I guess like when you're like 21, that's like when it's like cabrewing is like, we're going to get messed up on some natty light and we're not going to be able to function.
Don't even do this. You see how he like picks the one time where I'm insecure about drinking and doing a thing and turns it into the fact that I have a problem.
No,
No.
You have a problem.
I'm like, I don't want to do it on a boat. And Tyler
Tyler-
goes, yeah, binge drinking's a problem.
See, it's just because Tyler hasn't experienced as much day drinking with you as I have. Because Sean and I in college, well, when I was in college and Sean was in grad school, I would say we were like semi-professional day drinkers.
Oh, I believe it. I've heard.
And not even...
We've been podcasting through almost the entirety of your post-grad. I understand.
But not necessarily like getting messed up.
Yeah.
You know? It was like, get a 4-pack of Genesee Cream Ale, drink one each on the hike up the mountain and one each on the hike down. Like, you know, it's just there to be a part of the experience. And so in that sense, I'm 100% on board with cabrewing. I have not cabrewed, but I have had kind of like lake day or like pontoon boat day, and there's beers around, you know? Something about the river in particular, like, because it has a direction, feels a little bit more difficult to me. There's a big thing here in the Atlanta area most summers where you get in rafts and ride down the Chattahoochee River, and you usually drink during the process, and they call it shooting the hooch. And during the pandemic, like, every inflatable object in the metro area was completely sold out because it was all anyone could do while everything was shut down. And so I never really got the chance to do it. And this year there is an extreme E. coli outbreak in the Chattahoochee, and 12 miles of it are not recommended for humans to even get into. So I won't be doing it this year.
Tight.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's real gross. But I've definitely had many friends who had a few too many on the Chattahoochee and fell over trying to pull their rafts out or hurt themselves in some manner, lost phones, rings, watches. You know, you gotta be careful. The river can be dangerous. So if I'm cabrewing or drunk kayaking, I want to be on a lake. I want to be on like a relatively placid body of water. Personally.
Sure, that seems fair. That seems like a lot more work, though.
You got to paddle more, but, you know, it's not like...
Less jagged rocks that are gonna...
Well, you know, you get one of those tow-behind floating coolers. If it gets detached in the river, you just lost all your beer. If it gets detached on a lake, now you have a fun game.
Yeah, you do.
You got to row over to it when you run out of beer.
Sean, do you need me to call you a big strong man who can handle his liquor with
No.
no problem? And
No, I was just thinking the more that I have, the less I want to play a game where I have to go get it.
I'm not saying you want to. So we're getting ready to go cabrewing, hypothetically, right? We're all kind of putting our minds in that space where we're getting the boats together. We got the cooler stocked. We're building the playlist. What are we after? What is the vibe for the day? What are we thinking?
Vaguely folk adjacent.
Sean has a genre in mind. He's ready. Why is that?
I don't know. I just like toe tapping music.
he likes toe tapping music for... I guess you can toe tap in a canoe.
In a canoe, right. Well, there's lots of things that have rhythm. It's not
I was going to say, you could... Toe tapping
paddle.
doesn't necessarily
rhythm.
imply folk, though. Like, why folk adjacent?
Because you need some acoustic guitars happening. You need some...
You're getting back to nature. You're trying to
Yeah,
break
exactly.
it down.
It feels right.
Interesting.
It's going into the woods to live deliberately.
Little Walt Whitman action. I resonate with that a little bit. I definitely didn't want anything like electronic this week, but I could deal with some electric guitars, some rock and roll. I looked at some southern rock. You know, I think the influence of country music, country western music, is interesting in this space. I feel like you also could have even gone a bluegrass route, getting back to our geographical roots. But I don't know. There was something about like pace that I was really interested in, because I was thinking about canoes themselves, and like, yeah, you can get a canoe going at a pretty good pace, but for the most part, they're designed to be kind of a slower watercraft. You know, a lot of times they're used for fishing because you can kind of keep them in one spot relatively easily, as opposed to, say, a kayak. And so I wanted something that just kind of matched that pace-wise. Like, if I'm cabrewing, I'm not whitewater rafting. You know, this isn't a race. I'm not trying to survive the elements. It's just vibey. I think that's what I was after, like a mid-tempo, calm summer afternoon vibe.
Having had to playlist a 5-hour drive to Chicago, that was like painful enough to like continuously spin new music and have like new fresh ideas. So to say that, you know, we're going to go on the water for an indeterminate amount of time with a menagerie of people that you may or may not know, whose taste may vary pretty wildly from your own. You know, at some point you just say, Spotify, I'm gonna let you just take the wheel and just give me something that's like vaguely 10 years old, that's like feels like a classic hit, that feels like, or like, you know, just something from a playlist that's people are gonna remember and they're gonna be able to vibe with, and or maybe feel a little nostalgic for, and then that'll kind of get the party going in the way that you kind of want it to.
Well, I think we should dive into some picks. Does anybody feel like going first?
I'll go first, since I have the clear outlier here.
Go ahead, Tyler. What do you have for us?
This week I chose Go Outside by Cults. So, I would say that I like this song, but I have no other context for this band, anything they've done, other than this. And I kind of shot for the hip in a way that was like, I'm just gonna open up the Spotify and just be like, what's something from like 2010, 2012, 30, you know, sometime in college, and be like, what's like sort of like feels like a real easy breezy sort of like song from that era that like if I put that on a shuffle, it's gonna get me in the right direction for where I'm trying to go. The song in itself deals with a relationship in which someone wants to be inside and the other person wants to be outside, though reading into the lyrics and some like additional context around the song, it's loosely about from the notorious cult leader and serial killer Jim Jones. So there's a snippet of him talking in the beginning of this song. So, you know, not a super great song to have, or a lyrical content for going out on the water, but I feel like this is definitely the kind of like pick I would make, like, or someone like some executive would pick for like their like commercial for going somewhere. It's like, see Virginia, go outside. That's like the slogan. They're gonna pick this song, and it's like, you only need to know the snippet of this song. So I feel like I picked it for that, and I just feel like it's just kind of chill, and I like it enough.
Yeah, like you, this is a song that I heard a lot in its time, 2011, 2012. It was almost overplayed in some indie circles, I think. Definitely on satellite radio. I saw them at a festival a couple years ago. It was the first time I'd ever experienced anything other than this song. It was all good. I mean, it's shoegazy pop. It all kind of sounds like this. Some of it's harder than this. Like, this is kind of cutesy. But I think the dreamlike component of this could fit really well for what you're doing, right? Like, you're kind of rowing along, the water's relatively calm, you're going under trees. It's got the right vibe. I think it's also like mixed in such a way as a shoegaze record that like coming out of a crappy Bluetooth speaker, it would probably still sound okay, which is something that you want if you're going to be on the river, because obviously you don't have like a hi-fi system with you, and if you do, I have more questions for you. So yeah, I think this works. I feel like you understood the assignment.
I put in about as much effort as I wanted to put in what I would actually do for this activity.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think your indie comment is right. And I didn't know all the... I just figured that Cult was the name of the band, and I didn't look any further than that. Because it sounds like a happy indie song with glockenspiel. So thanks for ruining that for me.
Oh, well.
I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Is that what you plan to do with canoeing, too? It's like how you made me really self-conscious now that I have a drinking
He's going to
problem.
cancel canoeing.
No! He can't. I tried to solve it by be open and vulnerable, and he said it was okay. It really wasn't okay.
I enjoyed this soundtracking of you cabrewing with the delicateness of this song. That you're just kind of floating down the river and there's a nice little glockenspiel playing. Because I assume there would be more jazz in this for you. Like I just really feel like you were gonna pick some sort of up-tempo jazzy thing.
Well, you gotta zag on them sometimes, you know? Sometimes,
Yeah.
as you've probably seen on this playlist recently, I've not been jazzing it up lately.
You haven't.
I let you boys handle the jazz if that's where you want to go.
No, that's okay. I love the new direction. Keep going that way.
I know what I did.
What else do I have to say about this song? Is Colt's only a 2-person band?
It is.
Okay, so is there like a lot of synth and stuff happening?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's Brian Oblivion who does all the instruments, and then Madeline Fowler, I think is how you say it, is the vocals.
Okay. And I never, when I was picking out my song, I didn't think that it would be playing out of a little stupid Bluetooth speaker that probably has god-awful audio quality, but I agree with you there too. See, now I'm just questioning my song a little bit because, I like how it sounds. It's got good fidelity.
Well, let's get into it, Sean. What is your song?
All right. This week, I chose Knocking on This Screen Door by John Prine. So let me tell you why I thought this would be a great song for this. I love the acoustic guitar sound. I love John Prine's voice. I feel like if I was in a canoe floating down the river having a couple brewskis, I'd want to sing along to a song like this. It'd put me in the right place. And I mean, that's kind of why I picked it. I know I've been listening to a songwriting podcast for a while now, and basically everybody talks about how much they love John Prine. He's basically a legend in the folk and songwriting community. So it just played for me. I was like, this feels so John Prine.
Yeah, this is, I mean, damn near perfect. Like most John Prine songs, right? Like, they are all such wonderful little, like, encapsulated stories. It's like reading a really well-crafted novel. You get to the last page and you're like, this did everything it needed to do. And that's how these songs work. They feel good throughout, and then when it ends, you're like, I wouldn't change a thing. And I feel like that is the energy you want on an afternoon of Cabrewing, right? It's got just enough going on that it has that momentum that you can paddle to, but you could also just float to it and sing along and enjoy the moment. And, it's kind of about longing. It's kind of about, like, rural life. I can see how it could fit into the setting well. But I think just aesthetically, like, the instrumentation, the tempo, the vocal delivery, it's so nonchalant. Like, it knows what it is, and it's very proud of what it is, and that's Cabrewing to me. You're not trying to have a big blowout. You're not trying to, like, get to the end of the river the fastest. You're just having a good time. And John Prine's there having a good time right along with you. Also, I love that Dan Arbach has a cameo in the video.
So I just took a quick look at his wiki entry, because I honestly don't know anything about this person, but I'm almost immediately sort of like in love with the vibe. But I think what's interesting is that he was known for an often humorous style of original music that has elements of protest and social commentary. I mean, are either of you sort of like familiar with his body of work in like that can sort of like cite like what like his humor?
Yeah, he's very upfront with stuff. It's like observational.
Yeah, so it's like sort of like, so in this song he's almost like he's picking out very specific memories, very specific objects, and really sort of like making a story about, like, I could use some help here with a can of pork and beans, like, which is not inherently with itself, but it's sort of like you kind of combine that with sort of with all the lyrics, and it feels very earnest in sort of like in a funny way,
right?
In its specificity. But yeah, I mean, I love this. And I feel like it. Yeah, Sean, you did good.
Winner, Cabrew dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of. It's one of those things where you sort of like listen to it and you just. It's like one of those things. It's like, I have never listened to this before, but now that I have, it makes a lot of sense. Like, it feels right. It's like, it's kind of like almost when you're like 12 or whatever and you're hearing like the Beatles for the first time. You're like, yeah, this is the greatest band I've ever heard in my life, but it's like, you sort of start to, but kind of over time you sort of find more crappier bands, and then like eventually you find like that thing that you sort of just missed for a long time. And I feel like John Prine feels like that, where it's like, clearly like an artist that I feel like is prolific, has been doing a lot of work for a long time, no longer with us, but like just solid. So yeah, and I feel like it's easy jam that I feel like feels very salt of the earth, and I feel like Cabrewing is a very salt of the earth sort of activity. So I think this works great.
All right, well that just leaves me. And this week I chose "Need To" by Pinegrove. All right, let's get the elephant out of the room early and often. The meme is great. If you haven't seen the Pinegrove Shuffle, it's a fantastic indie music internet meme. It's basically a dumb response to TikTok dances where a bunch of indie dudes started doing this stupid dance to this Pinegrove song. And now it's like a calling card. This song is like a B-side off of a Rarities record from years ago. And this went so viral that the band re-released the song, which I just love.
Do you happen to have a link to that?
Let's take a break in the show to watch the Pinegrove Shuffle.
It's like this. No, you can't just. I'm gonna do this at a show. It's great.
Yeah, it's a dumb dance. It's a very, very dumb dance.
I'm glad that we're taking TikTok back from the pop heads. Okay, yeah, get real crusty with it.
But it's like everyone you could ever imagine is doing the Pinegrove Shuffle. Even like Jack Black did a Pinegrove Shuffle video. Like, it's everywhere.
How long has this been a trend?
3 or 4
Pretty
weeks.
recent? Okay.
Like for TikTok.
Okay, so it's like ancient in TikTok.
Yeah. This is old news.
So, ignoring the stupid normcore dance, I think the song is actually really lovely. It lacks the polish that some later Pinegrove songs have, which is kind of ridiculous to say because Pinegrove is not really a polished band. That's not really their bag. But even for them, this song is like relatively skeletal and its songwriting is kind of ambiguous. Like, it doesn't really go anywhere like some of their songs do. Like, some of them have really big builds and crescendos in them. Not this one. It's just a guitar loop, some drums, that characteristic, like, kind of forlorn vocal that's sung really far from the mic, so you really feel the room on it. And I think that kind of makes it, like, just vibey enough for Cabrewing. It's just kind of like you're a little buzzed, just kind of watching the world go by in your canoe, you know, just enjoying the afternoon, not trying to go anywhere, not trying to be anybody. You're just being. Like, it's very existential. I don't know. And I think the instrumentation is close enough to country, close enough to bluegrass to be outdoorsy, but the song still feels like emo-y in the way that Pinegrove songs do. Like, I don't know. I find it really hard to describe this band to people who've never listened to them because, like, what is this sound? Like, is it country? Is it emo? Is it rock? Is it folk? There's, like, experimental, like, chord progressions in the, like, keyboard solo here. I don't know. It's a weird piece of music, but it kind of fits for the vibe.
Yeah, so I'm kind of glad that you gave us this additional context for the song because I was like, this is a very unassuming song. This is like what kind of nothing burger song is going on here? There's like 5 words in it, and it's just sort of a vibe. But knowing that it's like sort of has like a virality to it, I think like makes it very funny and like kind of interesting in like a different way. I do think this song is cool and interesting, and I do like it. Just to be clear, I called it a nothing burger. That's very mean. But I don't feel like people who like Circa Survive get memes or virality in any way very often. So I feel like this is a real W for those people. I can imagine someone who's I imagine like a group of friends who are all on Pinegrove Talk are like, hey everybody, let's get out and do the dance together. You bang your canoes and you're gonna do the stumble really badly. But you know what? For those few moments, you're gonna feel infinite, and that's and that is really what summer's all about. To go outside your dorm, get a little drunk, and do a silly dance in the bank of a river. But yeah, I think this is interesting. I feel like so you said this is not like their normal stuff.
I can't believe you of all people have not listened to Pinegrove.
You're right. Apparently there's a lot of things I haven't listened to, and people will say, "Wow, Tyler, you sure do listen to a lot of music." But guess what? Chuckleheads, there's a lot of music out there. Okay, I can't listen to everything, but you know what? I'll give Pinegrove a listen. Is there a best album to start with?
Probably Cardinal. That was kind of their breakthrough.
Are there any videos of somebody doing canoe dancing to Pinegrove?
I mean, that would be fantastic. I do not have that for you.
Oh. If not, can we sponsor somebody who is actively canoe dancing?
If anybody who listens to this show wants to do the Pinegrove Shuffle in a canoe, we will send you a free t-shirt.
Yeah. When I first listened to it, I was like, this is kind of a sad song. But then once I saw the shuffle, I was like, nope, I get it now.
Right.
When you see the dance, it changes how you feel about it. Well, it changed how I felt about it. And I just thought, okay, this is right. This is the right song for this. Just and like what Taylor said, the etherealness of it with it feels like 300 acoustic guitars happening, and it feels like a reverbed mic where you're just singing away from it. I was like, yes, it all makes sense now. This is a fantastic Cabrewing song.
Yes.
Love it.
I did it.
I was just gonna say, this guy kind of sounds like a split between like Built to Spill and like it sort of has like a older Modest Mouse, like not.
Yes, the like college rock radio Modest Mouse.
Yeah, not the one where they're too noisy. The one, like the Moon in Antarctica era.
Yeah. No, it was really funny when they started to pop off. People in interviews would be like, so like what country artists are you inspired by? They're like, none? Like, we really like indie rock and emo. But it's cool that they could do both.
All right, episode 240, listener submissions Cabrewing. Listener Julian Seth picked Into the Line by the Traveling Wilburys.
Nice.
For those of you who have listened to the shows, we
Wow.
put the Traveling Wilburys on here before. I think that was a Tyler pick, too.
It was me.
Oh, it was you? Good.
Oh, yeah.
Midwest Goth did anything by Fleet Foxes.
Anything but Fleet Foxes. No.
Anything but the Fleet Foxes.
We don't like those.
I'm not about harmonies. I mean, I feel like Fleet Foxes can be a little bit too mellow, too sad at times. But whatever. You do you.
You just listen to Shore, and then the whole album feels kind of nice.
That's true. Shore would be good for this.
Ivan Glasgow, he says, we went tubing in a river on the 4th of July, and I think Born in the USA was the biggest hit.
Different energy, but I'm into it. You could bring out the boss.
I mean,
I felt.
It feels
I was
right.
gonna say, I felt like y'all were gonna bring out like some classic rock hits.
I really thought about it. I really thought about doing some Creedence.
Proud Mary?
Can't. It's already been picked.
Wrong. And then the last one, 71 DPI, Six Pack by Jeff the Brotherhood.
I've heard of that band. I've not heard of that song. I'll have to check it out.
Alex always bringing the esoteric, probably alt-rock, post-punk, electronic sort of weirdos to the mix. I can only imagine that's what it sounds like.
You never know.
He's got a type. Love you, Alex.
Well, with that, it's time for B-sides, which are songs that were so close to being picked but didn't quite make it in the canoe. What songs did you leave on shore?
Not Strong Enough by Boy Genius. I love it. I just need to hang on to it. Anywhere With You by Matt Kearney. And American Slang by Gaslight Anthem.
I went ahead and I made a Go Outside Radio just now. As predicted, if you let Spotify go long enough, Always will always show up. And so we got Always, baby. Archie Marry Me. Someone Great, LCD Soundsystem, which is probably not a good pick, actually. There, you could probably pick an LCD.
No.
But that's probably not the song for it. Something by Broken Bells. Let's see. Rob Riot.
I could do some Rah Rah Riot. I could be into
Yeah,
that.
sure. Passion Pit. we're just gonna play Sleepyhead by Passion Pit over and over again, and we're gonna throw up.
Oh wow, it is 2010.
Yeah.
And sticking with the folk and country vibe, I had another John Prine song, "In Spite of Ourselves," and then there is kind of a more modern country song. Artist name is Morgan Wade. Song is "Wilder Days."
Oh, I like that song. He's been showing up in my Apple Music radio a lot. All right, well, Tyler, if people want to float down the river with you, where can they do that?
Hey everybody, you can find my design illustration work at rudepets.club, and as always, you can find me on socials as Rude Pets Club on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
Sean, if people need suggestions for what to put in their cooler, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at TellySean.
And if you need a ride to the river, you can contact me at TC Olmstead on all of the socials. All of these songs will be on our official No Repeat podcast playlist on Apple Music and Spotify. And we'll be back next week with another episode of No Repeat.